Hello, welcome to Harvest Hill Cottage, where we love all things vintage and handmade. Okay, who doesn't love a charcuterie board, right? They're fun, they're delicious, and it's always a crowd pleaser. So today, we're going to make a charcuterie board that is both food safe, functional, and decorative. I picked this unfinished board up from my local craft store, and because I want to have one side that is food safe, but I also want to deepen the color, I'm going to stain it with coffee. That's right. I brewed some really strong coffee and I'm just painting it right on. Coffee or tea make a wonderful food safe stain. You don't want to use conventional stain because they are toxic. So I'm just painting on my really strong coffee here. Now, if you pick up a board that's a little rough to the touch, you can give it a sanding first and then just wipe it down and you're good to go. You can go ahead and paint on your coffee or your strong tea that you have brewed. Now, once you paint on your first layer, go ahead and let it sit for about 15 minutes or so, and then you're going to wipe it back with a lint-free rag. You can then go ahead and put on a second, even third coat until you achieve the color that you are happy with. Okay, now once that side's good and dry, I can flip it over and now I can work on the decorative side of my board. Here I'm just painting on a creamy white. This is actually Fusion Mineral Paint, which is my paint of choice. It has a built-in top coat. It is non-toxic, all natural, and it goes on like butter. So I ended up doing 2 coats of raw silk, that beautiful creamy white. I decided to do sort of an organic, vintage looking edge to the piece. So you'll see I'm not doing a nice clean edge, but I sort of want it to look a little bit messy. That way it looks just a little bit aged. So I'm just bringing it out near the edge and then doing a little bit of dry brushing there to give it that vintage look. Of course, if you wanted to, you could paint the entire backside of the board. That's no problem. Totally up to your own discretion. I put on a second coat just to get nice full coverage. And then once I let that dry completely, I'm ready for the next step. Okay, time for the best part. Now we get to embellish the decorative side of the board. We're going to start with a decorative stamp. This is Kindest Regards, a stamp from Iron Orchid Designs. I'm going to use their archival ink in black. I have already saturated a blank ink pad. Iron Orchid Designs ink is permanent, archival quality, and highly pigmented. So I will go ahead and use my ink pad to cover the entire area of the stamp that I want to transfer over to my board. So I'm just pouncing my ink pad all around. Once I've got it nice and covered, I'll go ahead and hover it right over the board until I get it just where I want it. And then I'll drop it down and I'll lock it in place with a hand because you don't want it moving once you put it down or you'll end up with smudges. And then I'll use the other hand to just make sure I get full contact and really good coverage with my stamp. The decorative stamps from IOD are really a dream to work with. They're highly detailed and the designs are all so beautiful. If you haven't tried an Iron Orchid's decorative stamp, I encourage you to give it a try. If you don't have a local retailer, we do carry the full line of Iron Orchid Designs stamps as well as other embellishments on our website at harvesthillcottage.com. Once our stamped image is completely dry, we are now ready to add a transfer. I'm going to pull some florals from the Fairytale Florals transfer pack. And I'm going to go ahead and layer them right over top of my stamped image. I'm just sort of playing with the layout here until I like what I see. You can easily cut apart the transfers from Iron Orchid Designs and piece them however you like on your project. And then you'll just use the applicator stick to transfer the image onto your piece. It's as simple as that. Then I always like to give it a quick rub with the transfer paper just to make sure it has made complete contact with the piece. I think I'll add a butterfly. And I'm going to pull out another stamp, and I'm just going to add a cute little dragonfly up here at the top. And because I like my pieces to look old and vintage, I'm just going to do a light sanding over these transfers just to knock back some of the sheen. And that's just my preference. You can leave them just as they are, no problem. Now we have to put a top coat on just to protect and seal those transfers in. I'm using Fusion's Ultra Guard, which is a nice satin finish, water-based sealer. You do want to always use a water-based sealer on your transfers, as oil-based sealers will tend to yellow your pieces. And you generally want to do a couple of coats just to make sure everything is sealed really well. Oh, and while I was at it, just for fun, I did a second one. This is the other board I did on the same day. I just used a different stamp and some transfers from another transfer pack. So there's my two charcuterie boards that I made. I'm going to go ahead and flip them over because I want to seal the food safe side, but I need to do it with something non-toxic and food safe. I'm going to use Fusion's hemp oil because it's just perfect for the job. You simply brush it onto your piece, a thin layer covering your whole surface, and then you'll wipe it back with a lint-free cloth. Sealing your wood pieces with hemp oil just adds a little extra sheen and gives some protection and just a refresh to your wood pieces. You can use it on your wood salad bowls, your butcher block, your cutting boards, anything in the kitchen that you might want to just give a little refresh or seal for a food safe, non-toxic environment. Oh, and by the way, if you're local to the Fredericksburg, King George area of Virginia, you can find Fusion products at Country Rose Creations. Okay, now I'm just going to buff out my layer of hemp oil, and then my charcuterie boards are good to go. Now I hope you guys will create your own beautiful charcuterie board that you can use at your next party and display in your home. Would you comment below and let me know which charcuterie board you think turned out the best? If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and comment if you can. It does help our channel to grow. And now it's your turn to go create something beautiful and amazing. Thank you so much for watching. We do really appreciate you. We hope you'll come back. Thanks again, and God bless.